Welcome to Being Revealed with Stephanie and Alex. I'm Stephanie Cunningham.
And I'm Alex Holtzaffel. This episode is brought to you by Revelation U, Reiki and Wellbeing. Revelation U is on a mission to help millions of people understand who they are and how they work, so they can create a life that feels deeply satisfying.
We believe aligning your energy and elevating your consciousness is the ultimate form of personal and professional development. To support you on your path to a more connected life, we offer Reiki, spiritual life coaching, live and online courses, and corporate wellness programs.
Each offering is designed to help you get reacquainted with yourself and inspire you to create a life that feels exactly the way you want it to. Continue your journey at revelationu.com. That's REVELATIONU.com.
Hey.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, how are ya?
Doing pretty good.
Good. Yeah, I've had a good day so far. I've been really busy and just checking off boxes.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot to do, some big things that are coming up, and I feel like I got a lot accomplished today. I felt very productive.
Been productive the past few days.
Yeah.
Working on stuff. So.
Yeah. And I think that goes along nicely with what we're here to talk about today. Celebrating your progress.
Yes.
It's actually probably a good time to talk about that as well, because it's the end of January when many people start to feel like they want to give up on the resolutions or goals or intentions, whatever you call it for the year. And it's important to kind of check yourself, right? And say, you don't have to get it all done in January.
No, goals are, if it's something you're trying to change yourself or better yourself, you don't want it, the big picture is forever, but you don't want to look at it that way. But it's a day at a time, you know? So 1 month is nothing.
1 month is nothing. And, one of the things that I wanted to do, I think I started it probably at the end of December. I just felt like I needed to modify my spiritual practice, my meditation, make it more consistent, get up a little bit earlier and do it in the morning, which can be a good time for me if I time it right. Because if I do it too late, then the anxiety for the day kicks in hard. So I started waking up at about 6:10 and doing half-hour meditation. And it took me a while to really get that down every day. There were definitely days where I felt down on myself. I'm like, oh, I didn't do it. Or I hit the snooze button, or I didn't hear my alarm, or whatever it was. But I just kept staying consistent and trying every day and celebrating those wins, right? Celebrating that progress if I actually got up, 2 days out of the 7, good.
Yeah, that's better than none.
Right. Just trying to change my circadian rhythm a little bit as I kept going and as I just stayed consistent, and it really started working out every day. So that's great. Some days it doesn't. Some days I want to snuggle in deep, but like this morning the puppy was there, so that was a hard one.
You could have meditated there with the puppy.
I could have.
Yeah, but you were just...
I did it later.
Soaking in the snuggle.
I was soaking in the snuggle. I think a lot of us kind of have those feelings of, I can't do it, but it takes that consistent practice and having grace with yourself to get over that hump, if you will.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to do anything daily. You look at diets, you look at exercise, and you build a habit. I feel like most of us probably focus on the negative. So rather than looking at the fact that we have been doing this, we've been doing something, and we want to focus on, I missed a couple days this week. And then that's what we want to focus on, rather than the fact that we've actually been doing it like where we weren't doing it before. So, you know, it's important that we have positive affirmation. We're trying, you know, if you have the focus on the negative or the bad, then it's counterproductive. It's hard to be positive when, so if you're trying to change that, you gotta have that outlook or.
And I would imagine in recovery, you've talked about being in recovery. I imagine that celebrating the progress is a key component to that, especially early on.
It is, but, and that's funny because I was always the type, because I had, you know, a few relapses. I'd get a couple different times I got 9 months sober and I relapsed. So I tried this time around, I've been sober since 2002. I really try not to pat myself on the back that much. But because I feel like it's important to recognize, you know, because you get your monthly coins and, you know, you do that for the first year. And I think sometimes we can get a little too cocky. So I had known my past, and I had known that I'd gotten those coins a couple different times and got up to some, you know, 9 months of clean time twice, which is a lot. And then I'd relapse. So this time around, I didn't really make it a big deal because I wanted to focus on today. But now that I've been sober for a longer period, it helps looking at the progress and celebrating the progress. It helps me with the little stuff in life that bother me today, not necessarily drinking or wanting to drink, but like if I'm having a bad day or something's not going right, or all I have to do is really think back to where I was before I got sober and realize like what you're worrying about today is nothing compared to what was going on back then. And then if I start to get down on myself, I can stop and look at how far I've come and how I've changed and the things I've overcome and kind of celebrate that progress, then it really puts things in perspective today. So, but sometimes it's hard for me to stop and realize like, hey, you were in an ICU pretty much dead. You were pretty much homeless. And now look at you. So, you know, not to say things, you know, bad things can still happen and you can still get upset and emotional, but most of the stuff I worry about today is nothing compared to what was going on back then. So.
That's really interesting that, you know, I didn't really think about that until you mentioned it with the coins. Celebrating, in that case, would you say celebrating your success each month for those first 2 rounds of 9 months, possibly another situation, but celebrating those 2 9-month periods with it, I got the coin. And you said you felt maybe a little cocky. Was it more about the coin or more about getting sober?
Well,
like,
that's
as you were
exactly, and that's where it, I guess, and I don't know how
like the coin was
or clean
goal.
time. The clean time was the goal rather than changing your inside, and that's exactly what it was there was an end game of, you know, clean time where like sobriety is not an end game at all. It's a journey. So there should never be like an end of the destination. And I think when you're really focusing on clean time, you're almost putting an end to the journey. Like, I got my coin. It's a milestone. And you do need to appreciate it, but then you have to realize like, you know, this is a forever deal.
At first, it probably feels like, the clean time, I'm winning, I'm doing it. You know, but it's not necessarily embedded yet.
No,
and that's probably why it takes. I would say it's common for. Would you agree that it's common for people to relapse a couple times?
Yeah, and well, I mean, a lot of people do. You know, the old saying is like relapse isn't a requirement because a lot of people do relapse, but It's common, but and some people aren't ready or they haven't fully surrendered. And it's a scary thing because they might not make it back after a relapse. I think what got me back was an underage consumption and then a suicide attempt. So like getting arrested and then almost dying were the two things that got me back in the room. So it's unfortunately,
I think that whether it's sobriety or making other changes in your life consistently, that switch has to flip.
Yeah, it's like surrender.
And when you said that, I was like, that's it.
And it is. It's not just for alcohol or drugs. It can be anything. But yeah, it's really... And surrender is hard to explain because it's like giving up fighting. But when you're trying to beat something, that's what you're doing is you're fighting, you're putting all your energy into it. But then when you finally it's like you give up and you realize that you're powerless over something or you don't have the answers. And then you're able to accept help.
Yeah. You know, that hit me hard because... I think we've talked about this before. One of the things that I struggle with, or have struggled with in the past, I should say, is extreme self-sufficiency, right? And I feel like a switch has flipped for me from that perspective, from that place of surrender, that I can't do it all by myself, and that's opened me up in such a way over the last couple months, say 2 months, say month, like big time, but a couple months for sure. I felt like I needed to do things by myself. And if I wasn't able to figure out, how I wanted to run the business and what I wanted to do, then I was a failure. I was realizing more and more that I can't do it on my own.
Yeah.
If I want to do it the way I want to do it, I can't do it on my own. And when I finally when that switch flipped, and that surrender came in, and it wasn't like a big deal day. It wasn't like, oh, the switch has flipped.
Yeah.
I've surrendered. It wasn't anything like that. I just noticed that gradual invitation of that energy into my life. I think I noticed it probably over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, and we've talked, and it goes along with what, realizing your progress or celebrating your progress, because with your business and what you've been trying to do, and, things have been slow. But then you have also come to a realization that where your mindset of when you started the business is you want it to be something different now. Yeah. And I think that even though like things might be slow or things might not be going the way you want them to, I think that is just like proof that your business has grown and how you view your business has grown and what you want to provide. And you can talk more about that if you want, but and I think that's a big thing too. And sometimes whether it be individual or business, you go through slumps that kind of push you to change.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And anyone in the service industry knows that it can be feast or famine.
Yeah.
At different points of the year. And January is always kind of slow because, everybody did everything in December and now we're just chilling out in January. But that's a big deal. And to celebrate that progress of, okay, number one, I went out on my own by myself, zero safety net, left corporate America, that to start my own thing. One, that should be celebrated. That's very brave. I did that. I'm proud of myself. I grew the business from what I had intended. I allowed for some flexibility because originally it was going to be just coaching and courses. And then I expanded it into Reiki as well. I folded Reiki in and it was a perfect pairing for everything that I was doing. I allowed for that to come in and that was successful as well. celebrate that progress.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate the progress that I started out renting rooms, paying a percentage of the session to the room owner,
Yeah.
if you will, to being able to afford rent on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge progress. To your point, it's like we have to recall those moments of success and progress,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like. Whether it's progress in changing patterns in your personal relationships, which can be really, really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have a friend that has gotten out of a relationship with a narcissist,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really hard and really painful. And actually, at the same time, she was dealing with a romantic relationship and a business partnership with 2 narcissists. So, you know, it was a really double whammy
Mm-hmm.
for her. And she has released both of those people and started fresh, and to see her progress and to remind her of her progress, you know.
Well, yeah, because individually you don't always see it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you still feel the pain.
Yeah.
You still feel the uncertainty. You still,
Mhm.
you know, feel those things. But to remind her of the progress and to see that she sees it, you know, and she feels it, you know, is really beautiful. So I just throw that out there just to say it doesn't have to be necessarily goal-oriented, but it can be pattern changes too.
Yeah, and thinking about it now, like it is hard, like in AA, you know, getting sober. A lot of times you don't see the change in yourself. People tell you. And now, you know, if anyone is listening to this, that's not a bad idea. If someone's in your life and you notice that they've grown, to say, hey, you know, I noticed that you're not the same person you were a couple of years ago. You handle things, you know, because that is important, because a lot of times we don't see it in ourselves. So it doesn't hurt to, you know, I guess the topic is seeing it in ourselves, but also seeing it in others and making sure they know, because that could make the difference in someone's day. So
Absolutely. That is so beautiful. That's such a great invitation.
yeah, I mean, I think we get such a fast-paced society that we don't stop to, like, I think of stuff like that all the time, but I never really tell people, but letting someone hear that can really make a big difference. You don't know what they're going through on all levels, and that could change their outlook and help them get through something that they're going through. So
yeah,
like you said, relationships, professional, with me, like the sobriety and mental health. I mean, yeah, being able to stop and look at where you were, where you came from, and where you're at today, and putting things in perspective. And I've always been the type that it's like, I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, because I don't want to get too prideful, but you do have to celebrate the wins.
Yeah.
You know.
You brought up mental health, and that's something that both of us have struggled with in the past. And thinking about that when we were younger, I'm going to speak for you too. I'm assuming when you're younger, you don't understand what's happening. You don't have the life experience. You don't have the understanding of how your brain works. You don't have the understanding of things will be okay, that you can get through this, that you can reach out for help and it's okay, that you can, you don't have that understanding. And when I feel those bouts of anxiety or depression popping up in me now, I can remember those times when I progressed through those bouts in the past. You know, there's a reference for that. I think that's important. A lot of people are dealing with anxiety, depression, extreme stress. There's a lot of terrible things going on in the world, and whether it's our immediate lives, or we're watching the news and we're absorbing all of that, you know, we can really feel a lot. You know, and to remember those times when we went from despair to coming back into the light.
Yeah. That's the thing with those feelings, is sometimes I don't want to say they can be controlled, but they can be maintained. But then other times there could be something chemically that we don't have control. So yeah, but and I think that,
and so knowing when it's time to
ask for help,
and maybe get some medication.
Yeah.
If not for just this moment. Yeah. For the rest of your life, I mean, whatever it looks like.
Because like nervousness, worry, anxiety is different than a full blown panic attack.
Yes.
It's a lot. Nervousness, anxiety. You can find ways to work yourself through it. Panic attack is like you have no control over it. So, but I agree with what you said, because all the things like from the adolescent period up till now that really stressed me out, I worried about, I got through them just fine. They were no big deal. I survived them. And I think I used that before, where I've been like upset about something, and I think back to something I was really worried about like 10 or 15 years ago, and I was like, that was no big deal, and you got through it just fine.
Yeah.
So most of the time, I would say that's how life works. Not always, because sometimes you can't get over that hump, or But there's tools out there, and that's one of them. Learning from your past experiences.
Yeah. So if you're someone that you're feeling maybe that you're not doing as well as you'd like, we encourage you to take a look. And see if that's true.
Yeah.
If you've been working towards something, if you want to bring something different into your life, if you want to make a change in some way, that's the first step, is to acknowledge it. And then likely you've had some little wins along the way.
Yeah. Take a step back and look and count your blessings, or count all the things that you've made it through, all the good things in it. It's hard to go through examples because I don't know where the listener might be, but I'm sure there's tons of stuff that you can celebrate and be like, I raised healthy children. I held down a job. I kept the family together. I was a single mom, and there's all kinds of stuff that you can find.
Yeah.
And then you can realize that, hey, there is value to my life, depending where you're at. If you're in that slump where you're like, my life sucks, and but it just depends. Or maybe you're feeling like blah, like, because that's this weather and everything this from fall till now has just been like, it's got that blah feeling. And I think a lot of people feel that way. Like, it's gray all the time and dark, and so you can very easily like just feel meh all the time.
Yes, and not all of us can fly out to Arizona
or Florida. Get away from it.
And sit in the extreme sunshine, as my dad used to say. But yeah. And I love the invitation too for people who recognize progress in the people around them to communicate it. Yeah,
I think that, and that might, I don't want to say that would make more of a difference but I can sit here. If someone comes to me and tells me, that might have a bigger impact than me sitting here thinking about it. I think the fact that if someone sees something positive or an attribute, or they just compliment you, then, I think that can really flip a switch in you.
Yeah.
So don't hesitate to do that to other people. Like, hey, you're doing really good, or hey, I've seen a change in you, or there's something different with you and I really like it. It can go a long way. So.
For sure. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, let us know your progress.
Yeah.
So we want to celebrate your progress too. So if you're working on something, or you're pattern changing, or whatever it might be, let us celebrate your little wins too. So in the comments, jot it down, tell us what's going on, and we'll share next time if we get any comments.
Yeah, and maybe if you post this on, like, actual posts on Instagram for this episode, maybe people can go on there and say stuff,
That's awesome. We'd love to share that, next time. Share your wins.
Yeah, and so what is your Instagram tag? Or
it's at b.revealed.
Okay.
Yeah, be.revealed.
Because I know I share it and you on Facebook, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And we will see you next time.
See you later.